Hello and good evening to another session of The Between, our third session, I believe. Hello, everyone. For those of you who are perhaps new watching this, this is a run of Jason Cordova's The Between, which is a PBTA game of Gothic monster hunters in Victorian London. I have talked in more detail about the game itself on the first episode, so do check that out if you haven't yet. Otherwise, if you want to learn more about the game, you can check out the link down below. This game is being run as part of the Gauntlet, which is an online gaming community. We meet and play games online very much like this one. We have a regular monthly calendar of games which you can check out on the website. Again, I'll link to that down below. It's at www.gauntlet-rpg.com. So again, check that out if you want to. We also have a number of podcasts that we run, as well as a gaming magazine called Codex. You can find information on all that stuff, and indeed games that we publish, such as The Between, on that site. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to ask each of the players to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about the character they're playing, and something that they got up to last time. We'll in tried and tested fashion, we'll go through in character keeper order. Jose, if I can ask you to kick us off, please.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name's Jose, and my pronouns are he and him, and I'm playing Lady Camila Betancourt Davies. Her pronouns are she and her, and she is a member of the elite aristocracy, the wealthiest of the wealthy in Victorian England. But she, rather than dining at social occasions and charity events, has led a different life, the life of an explorer, initially with her husband, who is now deceased. And she has continued exploring to expand the territory of the empire. And but now she works in Hargrave House. Her adventures have brought the supernatural to her attention as a threat to the crown. And so she is working with Hargrave House to find and control and use and manipulate monsters.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And next is, I believe, Elle, if you'd like to take us off next.
Sure. So my name is Elle, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm playing Fujisawa, also she, her. She is the factotum in the employ of our vessel, Priyanka Balakwa. Last session, they had a very charged visit to a chapel. And Fujisawa in the nighttime was able to do a little bit of investigation into one of our current threats, the St. Petersburg mirror.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And Daryl.
Hi there, I am Daryl, and my pronouns are they, them, and I am playing the aforementioned vessel Priyanka Balakwa, and who uses she, her pronouns, but identifies more as they, them, so you can call them Miss Balakwa if you need to. Last time we did have a very charged moment, singing psalms in the chapel. We also decided that we were going to investigate more questions about the vampiric entity in Limehouse, which I pursued with Alois Cockburn, and we were very quickly kind of stymied in our attempts to gain more information, though we did stumble across a few other clues. Interestingly enough, I also got to level up last time, so Priyanka's, strange abilities are probably going to start manifesting in a number of new and exciting directions.
Excellent. I think you've taken probably my favorite of the vessel moves, so nicely done there. Perfect, thank you very much. And last but not least, yeah, Brian, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us who you'll be playing.
I am Brian, he, him, and I am playing Professor Eloise Cockburn, also he, him. He is a professor of, what exactly am I a professor of? I'm not sure exactly. I guess I haven't really said. But he is also secretly a member of the esoteric conclave of the Darkened Moon, who are a bunch of occultists and artists. And last time, before not super successfully breaking in with Priyanka, he staked out the medium Madame Sorkin's home and had a conversation with a James Hitchman, who works at a clothing store, and saw that James Hitchman was leaving with an envelope with a fair amount of cash, and for now, Eloise has decided to keep that information to himself.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Where we'll pick up today, we'll go back into the usual day-night cycle as ever. Before we do begin, obviously, if people want to just have a quick check over and reminder of our lines and veils, if you do need to add anything to that or change anything that's on there, feel free to do so. Just give me a quick message if you do, and so I can update everyone else. We'll also obviously be, as ever, using the X card. If you need to X card anything, that is to say, let's can we stop this? Can we remove this particular thing from the scene? Always feel free to do so. You can do so by doing the hands, by typing something in chat, or just by saying over voice. As I usually disclaimer, voice is generally the quickest way of getting my attention. But do feel free to use any. And if anyone else notices someone has kind of put up their hands and I don't seem to have noticed, then shout out as well. We'll also be using the script change tools if anyone wants to use those, which includes pause, fast forward, and rewind to be used as appropriate. We've all discussed these before, but those will all be available for you if you need to use them. Cool. So yeah, as I say, where we will pick up is with our new day phase. Something that because someone reminded me the other day, and I know we kind of alluded to it last time, Jose, but yes, specifically as the explorer, we said about kind of meeting the mastermind. You can explicitly call for a vulnerable scene with the mastermind, or just call for a scene with them in general. So that option is always available to you if you do want to kind of get them more involved in the story, as it were. So feel free to do so as you wish. But yeah, that said, we'll be starting off. Actually, I think this is because I know last session we ended up a little bit rushed. Again, apologies for that. But I think we have a couple of masks to narrate. So if anyone wants to do theirs now, I think we had one from Alois. I can't remember, Priyanka, if you'd done yours last time or the time before, but feel free to correct me on that. And did we have a shared one as well? The mask of the sun, I believe, was marked. And I will remind people of what that one was. So the mask of the sun is each hunter narrates a dream they once had of primordial earth, back in time across the ancient seas, back in time when the spirits walked, when the sun was new and the old gods held court. So if anyone wants to jump in and do one of the masks, they need to do now. That's cool, or we can come back to that later. But yeah, does anyone want to do their narration now?
I have to resolve my Mask of the Past, so I can go ahead and I can do that now.
Awesome. Yeah.
So narrate a flashback to the time when you were in your mother's womb that shows even then dark entities were interested in you. Okay, so this flashback takes place in India in a very decadent palace that is currently under siege. There are a number of angry pitchfork and torch wielding invaders who are trying to break into the house, and we see an Indian woman dressed in Victorian clothes fleeing down a hall, and a hand reaches out from the dark and snatches her into a room. And we see a man that looks very much like a man we've seen in Priyanka's, like photos of Priyanka's bedroom before, who like pushes the woman against a wall and covers her mouth with his hand. And as the people who are invading and ransacking the house come in and start to destroy it, we see that this man is helping her to escape, and she tries to pull him aside and says, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with my baby. And then the camera just trails down, and we see she's hiked up her skirts a bit, and what looks to be black tar is seeping down her legs.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Does anyone else want to describe a mask at this moment, or if not, we can pick it up in one of the later phases?
I can do my Mask of the... Oh. Okay, I can do my Mask of the Sun now.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think in Fujisawa's dream, we see the colossal hand of a primordial god, and it's like swirling with all of the elements. Like the hand is made of earth, and it's like dried and cracked with flames that are forming the lines in its palm, and rivulets of water are spilling forth through those cracks as it reaches into the soil and grasps a handful of loam and clay, and begins its work of sculpting figure after figure, rendering arms, legs, faces in minute detail. And when this god's work is done, and the many thousands of figures stand there naked, now alive, with their eyes cast at the sky, confused and alarmed at the air of new life that has just been breathed into them, we pan over each face and we see that they are all Fujisawa. And that is the dream.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Eloise, do you want to do your mask, or do you want me to go?
I mean, I think I'm going to do my mask, although it feels like a letdown after those, because those are much more interesting. It's going to be much more mundane, but that's okay. Where is it? This is a flashback to childhood that shows the time you took the blame for the misdeeds of someone you admired. And I think we see Eloise about 9 years old, and probably small for his age, very scrawny, and looking even smaller because of his two kind of older brothers who look much more filled out, stronger. Yeah, I think they're just explaining to him how he needs to take the blame with their parents for, probably something in the house was broken. Maybe there was a ball being tossed around or something, and some piece of furniture was destroyed. And they're explaining to him that, he's much younger, and so, parents, won't expect him to be, know how to behave himself, and, how much worse the punishment's going to be for them if they, know that they're involved. And so he agrees to take the blame. And I think as a result, I think Eloise is sent off to boarding school maybe a year earlier than he would have been, because he's actually quite advanced in his studies, so he should be able to keep up. And while there's some reservations because he is so small, even for his age, it's decided like, no, it'll be fine. And he obviously needs the discipline. And he's sent off a bit earlier as punishment.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much.
Can I ask you a question, Brian?
Sure.
You said he was small. Did he grow out of that when he hit his growth spurt, or is he still small now?
I mean, his vitality is 0, so I guess he's not a specimen particularly, but I don't think he's like, he's fairly average. Okay. I would think, but yeah, more on the small side, maybe.
Thanks.
He's not an athlete, certainly.
I can go ahead and do my Mask of the Sun if you want.
Yeah, sure thing. Go ahead.
So I imagine Lady Camilla's dream is on kind of a desolate beach with huge rolling waves coming in, and there are these cliffs, high cliffs, and there's no one else on the beach. The sun is hanging in the air, kind of low and hazy, and the camera pans in onto Lady Camila, and she's in this, big Victorian black day dress with petticoats and everything, and she's trudging through the sand. Her dress is soaked and covered in sand, and there's this kind of sense of desolation. But she has this determination in her eyes that she's going to keep walking. And so that is the dream, basically, her walking down that beach, trudging with her eye on the horizon, and no one else in sight.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Priyanka, Eloise, if either of you want to do your Mask of the Sun now, you can, but otherwise we can come back to you later on. That's fine.
I think mine is short. Short.
Cool.
So I'll just say the dream is just of a night sky in which the moon is much brighter than the moon we know today. And I think Eloise is just kind of walking through kind of a lush, forest, and just sees the activities of the animals are much more active than normally we see at night. Sorry about that.
No worries.
And I think the dream ends as like something goes wrong, and like the moon like dims, starts to just fade to the normal moonlight that we know today, and there's just the confusion of the forest wildlife, and the dream ends.
And I can go through mine real quick too. So Priyanka's dream starts, it's all seen through first person. And so she is walking through a tundra and finds a cave. And as they walk their way through the cave deeper and deeper, the stone goes from being craggy and broken and fissure-like to smooth. And the deeper things go, the more strangely lit they become. There's no need for a torch anymore because there's this strange luminescent green light that dimly lights the entirety of the cavern, which is getting bigger and growing wider as the further down that they go. And there start to be strange carvings along the walls, giant sweeping patterns that go up stories high and create huge petroglyphs across the entire range of caverns. And the stone becomes even more polished and even more angular, and it's twisted in all sorts of geometries that don't make sense, and yet still somehow they're able to traverse their way deeper and deeper into the cave. And they feel almost as if they know exactly where they're going. And they cross over a huge bridge and leads to a giant gleaming disc. And as they walk up to the disc and their reflection becomes unclouded in it, and they see themselves in that pale aquamarine light, and they are not themselves at all. They are some sort of creature with many limbs and many eyes and many maws. And the sight of it is so horrific that Priyanka starts awake in the middle of the night in her rooms.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So we will be, as of moving into the day phase. So the first thing I will do is I will introduce the new threat that we will be facing today. So for today, I will be bringing in Fig's Pigs. I think I'm going to ask this to, actually I'm just going to double check, but I'm pretty sure no one has. No, that's cool. So yeah, Professor, the Fig family sent you one of their famous Fig's Pigs, a meat pie with a little pig stamped on the crust. You enjoyed the first few bites before realizing it contained human meat. What gave it away?
Wow. Okay. What part of a human would be unmistakable? What if there was a bit of skin with like a decorative tattoo? Just a fragment of a tattoo.
Nice, nice. Thank you very much. Yeah, excellent. I did not mean to mute myself. Right, yes. So you called Scotland Yard and Mr. Fig was arrested. His wife and 2 sons managed to escape capture. Mr. Fig is being held at Bethlehem Royal Hospital. He won't tell the inspectors anything about where his family might be, though he has been singing a little song about them. Sing a song of 3 figs, the apples of my eye. Snatch a bunch of long pigs and bake them into pies. First comes little Patrick, about on poor hoof. He thinks he's an animal and has since troubled youth. Oh, but the blade has fine taste, more than most I know. It has to be the right pig see, the meat must be just so. My love, la bella hortensia, the gravy to my crust. To hold that which she loved and lost, she'll do what she must. Sing a song of 3 figs, their names you all now know. You'll see them down old London town, and in the sack you'll go. Amazingly, Scotland Yard has asked for Hargrave House's help in capturing the figs. They want to keep the investigation of the figs pie shop in Shoreditch fairly quiet, without official police presence, so as not to set off a pie hysteria throughout the city. You have come to the conclusion that Mr. Fig's song is a guide for how to find the other figs. It has helped you form some questions, the answers to which will lead you to their capture. So the questions that you have are, what kind of animal does Patrick Fig think he is? This is a complexity 2 question. And answering that question will allow you to lure the animal out into the open and then capture or destroy him. The second question is, what type of victim does Obert Fig prefer? That is also a complexity 2. And that will allow you to lure Obert Fig to you and then capture or destroy him. And the third question is, what did La Hortensia Fig lose that she's trying to recapture or remember, which is also a complexity 2. And that will allow you to find La Hortensia and then capture or destroy her. There is a special rule for this, this threat, which is to say that all 3 figs have to be captured or destroyed for the threat to be considered resolved. However, it's only the final fig that you capture essentially has to be done at night. The other 2 can be done during the day potentially, but the final one has to be done during the night phase. So yeah, there is also for this threat another mask available called the Mask of the Pig. Now we'll just add that into the character keeper. Excellent, yeah. And just as a reminder on the other 2 threats we currently have outstanding, the Limehouse Lurker, we've answered the first question, which was whether the vampire is young or old, and determined that they are young. The question remaining is, if it's young, what was a child's home life like before they were turned? And you can resolve that threat by luring the vampire into a scene reminiscent of its home life, and then destroying it or making arrangements for it to safely feed on a regular basis. That is a complexity of 4, and you currently have 2 clues for that one. For the St. Petersburg mirror, there are 4 questions available for this one. The first 3 are all about resolving it, so you only need to answer one of those. They are, what trickery and deceit does Madame Sorokin deploy in order to dupe those who come to her parlour, which allows you to resolve the threat by exposing Madame Sorokin as a fraud and discrediting her in the public eye. Complexity 4 for that one. Second is, who is truly behind the blackmail ring and how are they using Madame Sorokin as a pawn in their game, which allows you to resolve the threat by dealing with the power behind Madame Sorokin. And that may enable you to recruit her to your cause if you so choose. That's also a complexity of 4. And the third question for resolving the threat is, how do you know that not only is Madame Sorokin a true psychic, but currently is only using a small portion of her potential, and given time, what could she achieve? That is a complexity of 6, and that will allow you to resolve the threat by bringing Madame Sorokin under control in some fashion. And the final question for that threat is a complexity 2 question, which is the St. Petersburg mirror genuine? If the mirror is genuine, it will be available as a reward if you're able to get your hands on it, basically. And that is, and you currently have 3 clues available for that. So with all that said and done, we will start off by asking what you all want to get up to in your day phase today.
Can I ask a quick question about what you just said about the threat?
Yeah, certainly.
So with the St. Petersburg mirror, I get that it's one of the top three. If we resolve the threat before we've answered the fourth question, does it all go away, or can we resolve the threat and then return and answer the fourth question?
Yeah, no, essentially, if you kind of resolve the threat without answering the optional question first, then it's kind of gone as, yeah.
So we should prioritize
So
that
yeah,
one.
if you want to do that one, then yeah, you should answer that one first.
Thanks.
Essentially,
Yeah. And then also, since I've got you, a quick question about echoes in the night.
Yeah, certainly.
Do echoes in the night, I know that we can put an echo into the unseen from Hunter's scene. Can those be from Hunter's scenes during the day, or do they have to be only night scenes?
In the night scene as well, yeah. Yeah.
And they have to be from the night. Okay.
That's it, yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
No worries. I mean, obviously, referring back to earlier stuff is also cool, but yeah, specifically for Echo in the Night, it's other stuff that's happening in that night phase. Awesome. So yeah, I'll start. I'll go in reverse order this time, actually. So, Brian, do you have any thoughts on what you might like to try and get up to during the day phase today?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that mirror, maybe it's time for the professor to just go do some research and see if I can find any history of that mirror. What's the significance? Any records?
Yeah, sure thing. That sounds good. Yeah, Priyanka, how about yourself? What do you think you might like to get up to during the day phase today?
I think I want to probably investigate some more stuff about the lurker. I think that I would probably, I don't know, maybe go like see somebody. Okay, so just as a little bit of a metagamey thing, like, so I've done the Limehouse Lurker before, and I know one of the side characters. It would require me going back to the Opium Den, which my character has no real reason to do, but I would like to do for fun.
Yeah,
so.
No, that's absolutely cool. That's absolutely cool. Yeah, in fact, Hargrave House in general might be getting a message from Jenny Johnston anyway, so it probably will make sense for you to pay her a visit.
Okay, then yes, I would like to go to the Opium Den.
Cool.
Probably just to investigate, not to indulge. No, certainly not to indulge.
Indeed. Yeah, and Fujisawa.
I think Fujisawa wants to go to Madame Sorokin's parlor to talk to the woman herself.
Sure thing. And Lady Camila.
I think when Lady Camilla wakes up in the morning, I think she wants to go visit Sir Anthony Rhys Wood, the occultist, to get his help with a couple of their threats.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll just quickly remind myself of what they do. Yeah, awesome. That sounds good. Perfect. So, yeah, I think we will start off with a scene. I think actually I'd just like to get kind of a little scene with everyone together, perhaps having breakfast or the like. Doesn't have to be like a big thing, but just as a kind of a little intro to everyone at the beginning of the day. So yeah. How does a kind of a typical breakfast at Hargrave House look? What's everyone up to?
I think Fujisawa is certainly making the rounds of the table with the tea set. We see the English teapot that's been prepared with kintsugi, and she's very, professionally pouring everyone's drinks. And I think when she gets to Miss Balakwa, she notices like a little hair out of place, and before even like thinking twice about it, she sort of very gingerly, very tenderly kind of smooths it back into place. And then pauses, realizing that perhaps that was inappropriate, sort of bracing for Priyanka's reaction.
So Priyanka is sitting at the table and is eating some kedgeree, and like the spoon is like halfway to their mouth before when they feel Fujisawa's hand go to what feels like a caress of the hair versus a just putting a hair out of place back into place, and but feels the hand pull back very quickly, and then it just slowly brings the spoon to their mouth so that to almost play it off as if nothing has happened, because the others are here and because they don't want to make a big don't want to embarrass themselves by making a scene or showing any kind of reaction. So instead they just continue to eat their breakfast and turn their attention to the book of poetry that is sitting in front of them.
Fujisawa goes a bright peach pink and hustles back towards the kitchen.
On her way out, though, she hears Lady Camilla's comment with a little bit of an arched eyebrow. She says, "It is nice to have such devoted help, is it not, Miss Balakwa?" And then she just takes a bite of her scone, not waiting for an answer.
So certainly Fujisawa's attention to detail is of immeasurable value, Lady Camila.
Of course, we are lucky to have her with us. Particularly when it comes to servants in Hargrave House. There seems to be such turnaround, but Fujisawa seems so loyal.
That is because Fujisawa is not a servant of Hargrave House, Lady Camila. She is my servant. And
Yes,
though we
course.
have acquiesced, and though we have at times acquiesced to allowing her to do other labors here, it is important to note that she shall always remain my servant.
And we benefit from your generosity.
And I think it's at this moment there is a ring at the doorbell. Fujisawa, will you answer it, or does one of the others get there first?
I think in the kitchen, Fujisawa and Reginald, the butler, had been kind of listening into this little pseudo argument between Lady Camila and Priyanka, and are sort of embroiled in their own sort of whispered conversation. And maybe Reginald, hears the door and starts to go, and Fujisawa says, "No, I've got it. I need to get away from the breakfast table anyway." And she will go answer the door.
Yeah, sure thing. There is a young Chinese man there. He's dressed in a Western suit, though, with the long braid down his back. And I'll say, "Good morning, Miss Johnson has asked if it would be possible to visit her at her place of business. She has it relates to the business that she has been conducting with you. She said you would understand what that meant.
Yes, thank you. I'll let the masters and mistresses of the house know. Your name?
Oh, Harry, Miss Harry Chen.
Thank you, Harry. Please let Miss Johnston know that a hunter of the house will be by today.
Thank you. And he'll kind of give you a short bow and head off back into the streets.
And Fujisawa will return to the dining room and announce the message from Jenny Johnston. Mostly to Priyanka, I think, although she doesn't say that all of the hunters can hear, but it's very clear that it's like her relaying a message to her employer, her sole employer.
Very good, Fujisawa. If you'll please send a letter ahead for Miss Johnston to expect us later this morning, we shall make ready to depart in an hour's time.
Yes, Miss Vilacqua, of course.
And that was Priyanka's way of very clearly like laying claim to the relationship there, because we don't need to involve everyone here. I'm sure that they have far better things going on that they can do on their own.
Lady Camila rises and says, "Well, it seems you two have that under control. I have a small errand to run to see an old associate. I will see you all later in the day." And she walks out.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So I think we'll start off with the professor. So you said you were interested in doing some research into the St. Petersburg mirror. Whereabouts do you think you'll be doing that? Is that do you think you're consulting the library in Hargrave House, or going elsewhere to find information on that?
I mean, I don't know that Hargrave House. I might start there out of convenience, but I imagine there's maybe a university library, or I would know someone who has it's more specialized specifically in the direction of wherever my research leads me.
In fact, the place, the most well-stocked library in general terms is the British Library itself, which is in Bloomsbury. In fact, part of the British Museum is probably there may be some places that have some individual collectors might have more specialized collections on certain topics, but in terms of the most books on the most varied topics you can find, that would be the place to go. And actually, one of the things you do know, which is possibly why the Hargrave House Library might not be the most suitable for doing that research, is that the St. Petersburg mirror is actually relatively recent, as in, like, I think about 30 odd years ago is allegedly when it was created. So the library at Hargrave House is a little more focused on older and weirder texts than that. Yeah. So you will be able to make your way to the library without any problem. You undoubtedly have a membership there already, so are able to kind of get in through the door without any trouble. The library building itself is quite impressive. It's a huge round building, huge round room with shelves all the way up it, a big sort of domed ceiling, and sort of those ladders and mezzanine floors all the way up it, with then kind of the light from the dome illuminating the reading space down below. There are a few other scholars already there when you make your arrival, poring over books, consulting the stacks and so on. So yeah, I think I would like you to make the information move with reason, please.
It makes a lot of sense. That's an 11.
11. Okay, so on an 11, you will I think you are kind of going through various books. You don't find much on the St. Petersburg Mirror itself here. As I say, it is it's a relatively recently built object. The thing you are able to confirm, and I think that the cultural attaché mentioned to Lady Camila at the seance is that it is rumored to have been made using strange metals left behind by the Andromedid meteor shower that was seen over the city of St. Petersburg. And I believe that took place in the 1840s, essentially. So it's kind of, there are some mentions. It's more, there's some, you find sort of some mentions to it than that kind of reference the meteor shower and the like. What you do find while you're kind of looking through a couple of books on mirrors and the like in general, what you do come across are some sort of some references to, like the reflective properties of mirrors and refraction of light and all this sort of stuff. And you come across a kind of some diagrams of devices that can be used to kind of project the appearance of spectral images and that sort of thing, that kind of seem like they might be relevant. That seem that perhaps the mirror is sort of used for that kind of thing. Maybe there's some sort of trick to it, and you kind of learn a bit more about the various tricks and stuff that can be done with smoke and mirrors, as it were. So yeah, the clue specifically for the list is that you learn about cunning devices to project the images of ghosts. Awesome. And so I think then we will go to let's let's see, Fujisawa, your visit to Madame Sorokin's. So once again, yeah, you arrive at this just little terrace house in the East End of London. Are you just sort of knocking at the door?
Yeah, Fujisawa has come as a client of sorts. Yeah. So she'll knock on the door. I think she's like probably peeking in through the window while she waits for someone to answer it.
Yeah, and you won't be waiting long before the door is answered by again Elsie Tanner, the lady we've seen before, and she'll say, "Good morning, Miss. Are you here to see Madame Sorokin?"
I am. I was at Lady Cadwallader's home when Madame Sorokin made her appearance, and I wanted to see her talents for myself.
I see. And she'll kind of she'll invite you into the sort of the little makeshift waiting room in the hallway, and she will make a show of looking at the appointment book and saying, "I don't believe that we have an appointment here for you, Miss
Fujisawa.
No, nothing here." And she'll sort of purse her lips and say, "But I suppose if you are part of Lady Cadwallader's staff, we can." She'll nod. We can. I'm sure fit you in. We don't have another appointment for a short while.
I'm not part of Lady Cadwallader's staff, but and Fujisawa kind of looks around, lets the kind of silence of the house seep in. It doesn't sound like Madame Sorokin is particularly busy.
Not right now, no, Miss. So with that will just be the we do, though of course, Madame Sorokin exercises her powers for the benefit of all who come to see her. We do ask for a small fee to pay for rent on the premises and so forth, as I'm sure you'll understand.
Fujisawa like just barely resists rolling her eyes, and she'll fish a little coin purse out of that's like tucked into her obi, and we see her pull out the money that she won at the horse races.
Yeah, and like the fee that she charges is not astronomical. It's well within kind of the means of a kind of an average person on the street kind of thing. It's not silly money, but she will take the money from you and sort of make a little note in her book and say, I'll take you through, and she'll sort of lead you in where you'll see Madame Sorokin is just kind of like adjusting her sort of headdress and the like, and sort of settling into her chair. Said we've seen this before. This sort of very like overly decorated room. The mirror is back where it was before, on the wall behind Madame Sorokin. But she will say, it is a pleasure to meet you. Please take a seat, and we can explore your future or your past or whatever else it is that you wish to consult of with the spirits today.
Fujisawa takes a seat and says, I'm going to be upfront with you. I don't believe in mediums. Or I should say, I don't believe in their exceptionality. The dead are in constant communication with us, even if it isn't obvious. I don't think it takes all of this theatrical performance to get their attention.
Well, that is certainly a different approach than I have heard many skeptics make in the past, Miss Fujisawa. I agree. Much of what I do is designed to impress or to reassure even those who come to see me.
Fujisawa nods sagely. And by that you mean to fool them.
Some people need a little theatricality to understand the truth.
Okay, so help me understand then. I want to see it up close.
Of course, please. And I think that she will put the deck of cards she has in front of her to one side, and she will stare into your eyes. And I think we'll go with the information move here. I think, and I think we will go with we'll say sensitivity again. I think it makes sense in this situation.
Sure. That's my sensitivity. That's a 6.
6. Okay. So I think we will take a short break here as we're just coming up to about an hour after we started. So if we come back at say 20 past, and we'll pick things up then. So I'll see you all back in a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so I think while that is going on, we will switch over to Lady Camila briefly. So yeah, Lady Camila, you are, I believe, checking in with one of your contacts.
I am. So I think after the breakfast scene, we see Lady Camila step out of Hargrave House onto Belgrave Square. And turns out that it was raining last night, and so there are puddles everywhere, and there's still kind of a light mist coming down. And so she opens her umbrella, and then she begins walking south on Upper Belgrave Street and towards St. Peter's Church on Eaton Square, because that's where Sir Anthony, his townhouse is. And as she's walking, she looks at the puddles and notices the reflections in the puddles and wonders about the St. Petersburg mirror and whether it has any of the powers that are ascribed to it. And then she comes into Eaton Square and finds the townhouse where Sir Anthony lives. It's a gray townhouse with wisteria growing all over it. And she comes up and she rings the bell. And she's made arrangements to see Sir Anthony. And Sir Anthony is an expert in the occult, I believe, and a member of the Royal Explorers Club. And that's how Lady Camila knows him, and how they have a previous association.
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, the door will be answered by a valet who will bow to you and say, Lady Camila, welcome. Sir Anthony is expecting you. He's in the drawing room. If you will follow me.
Lead the way. She hands him her umbrella.
Yeah, and he'll kind of give it a couple of shakes and sort of put it in the stand to dry off. And then he'll lead you into the drawing room. Sir Anthony is sat. He's probably got a book open, which he places on a little side table next to him. He's alarmingly pale with very, very dark eyes. He will, as you get up, he will lean heavily on a cane as he stands to bow to you and say, Lady Camila, welcome. It's been too long. Please do take a seat.
Please, sit down, Sir Anthony. No need for formalities.
As you say, Lady Camila, as you say, and he will sort of sit back heavily into the chair.
And I think Lady Camila, rather than sitting down, walks over to the side table where he's put down his open book, and she notices that it's open to a print from Dante's Inferno, of the Ninth Circle of Hell, which I will put in the chat. And she says, yes, Dante. Interesting. It seems in this illustration almost as if the devil is contemplating his own reflection in the ice that traps him. One thing about this, though, I must say, Dante was right in putting the devil in the deepest circle of hell with other traitors. I feel that treachery is definitely the worst of the sins and should be punished accordingly. Don't you, my friend?
Of course, my lady. It's betraying a trust is a terrible thing.
I'm so glad that you and Hargrave House have a mutually beneficial relationship built on trust. I have come to you with some questions that I think can only be answered by one of your expertise.
Then I look forward to hearing them. It is so rare. I am surprised by a question, and yet, Lady Camila, I feel if anyone has the capacity to do so, it is you.
There are two matters that I am curious about. I just had made the acquaintance last night of a new medium, Madame Sorokin, who's arrived in town, is making a bit of a splash. I know in the circles you travel, Sir Anthony, speaking with other sensitives within London, that any true medium that were to arrive in the city would be taken note of by other sensitives. Do you have any news or any word of this Madame Sorokin? Is she the genuine article, or one of these common hucksters?
It is funny you should ask that, Lady Camilla. I had thought to try and find a little bit about her myself. As you say, I'm always interested when there are rumors of new talent in town. I had asked around a little about her, and he will again get to his feet slightly unsteadily, but will walk over to kind of a bureau on one side of the room, and will open one of the drawers inside and pull out a letter. And he will come back and hand it over to you and say, just the other day, I received this rather charming missive in my post. And as you look at the letter, it says like, stop. If you know what's good for you, stop looking into Madame Sorokin while you still have the use of one leg.
Lady Camilla looks over the letter and says, "A crude threat.
Indeed.
Any idea who it came from?"
None, I'm afraid. The handwriting is very bland, perhaps deliberately so, perhaps just the nature of the writer. I cannot say whether this is proof of fraud or not, but certainly somebody is keen that I do not involve myself in the matter. Someone who has, I would wager, some knowledge of my area of expertise.
I wouldn't be overly concerned about these types of threats, Sir Anthony. But if anything else arises, please let me know, and I will use the resources of Hargrave House to make sure you're well protected.
Thank you. Thank you. Of course, if you do learn anything of this, Madame Sorokin, or that mirror she is supposed to have a hold of, then please do let me know. I would be certainly intrigued to hear more. But if she is caught up in some business with unsavory types.
Thugs. Yes, it's always a possibility in this business. I will keep you informed. And the second matter, if you don't mind, that I wanted to ask you about is that we have a young vampire apparently recklessly slaughtering people in Limehouse. It's an unsavory affair. We need to bring it to heel or remove it from the board altogether. Have you heard anything about this vampire or its potential whereabouts? Or maybe some piece of folklore that might tell us something about where a vampire newly formed, lashing out. A child vampire, actually, might hide itself out.
Yes. I think I did hear a little something about that this morning, actually, in the papers. Something about an exsanguination in Limehouse. Indeed, indeed. Well, if it is a young vampire, as you say, then one thing to be aware of is the in the younger vampires, the sensitivity to sun is sometimes stronger than in the adults. I fear the stories you may have heard about conflagrating under the touch of the sun are much exaggerated. It is usually for most vampires little more than a discomfort. They can, with a heavy set of curtains or a large sun hat, the rays of the sun are quite tolerable, if not pleasant. But if it is a young one, that it becomes more so. They're more sensitive as the change fully takes place within their body. So I would suggest that somewhere that has been blockaded from the sun, if not actually underground, blackout vines, hoardings, that sort of thing, anything to obscure the presence of the light is likely to represent somewhere that they are layering.
A useful piece of information, Sir Anthony. Thank you. On
Yes,
both counts.
No, quite right. But yes, usually in the young, they will still retain enough of their human mores to still try and conduct their life as it would have before, less likely to find somewhere secure underground or the like to take shelter.
Someplace familiar, perhaps.
Indeed.
Excellent. That gives me much to go on. I will take my leave now of you. Sir Anthony, please care for yourself and do keep the doors locked for now until we resolve this Madame Sorokin business.
Of course, I would hate to be involved in any unpleasantness.
And I would hate that for you as well. Take good care, my friend.
Thank you, Lady Camila. I hope to see you at the club again soon.
All right.
Excellent. So,
should I write in the clues?
Oh, yes, please. Yeah, if you would. Yeah. So, for the clues, you have for the St. Petersburg Mirror, it's a threatening letter. And for the Limehouse Lurker is a passage hallway or other thoroughfare that has been made unreachable by the sun.
Great, thanks.
No worries. Awesome, thank you. Priyanka, we'll come back to you as you arrive back at Jenny Johnson's. As you are walking through Limehouse, you will notice there definitely seems to be a a heavier police presence here than there has been in the previous days. You don't have any problem with them, but there's definitely a few more bobbies walking the beat than normal. As you enter the opium den, Jenny will see you as you come in and say, good morning, Priyanka. I'm sorry to have called you out here at this time of the morning, but I don't know if you've seen the news yet. Last night, someone broke into the Limehouse school and killed the headmaster there. From what I hear, exsanguinated, much like the others. But the police were called to the disturbance, so they are investigating. And I am concerned it's only a little while until they learn of the deaths of Charla and the others.
Miss Johnston, thank you for calling me. I was unaware of the passing of the headmaster. It certainly seems as though the issues we are facing are picking up with frequency. I believe that we should do everything in our power to try to resolve this issue once and for all. My associates and I have come to a certain understandings about the creature that is stalking the nights here in Limehouse, and I believe we are getting close to resolving the issue. However, there are still some questions that we have been unable to answer, and some pieces of information we have been unable to obtain. I know that you have been working very hard to keep things calm here, so I was wondering, is there anyone here or whom you have had interactions with recently who might have some information that could be spared about this?
And she will kind of give a moment's thought when, from one of the kind of side rooms, a figure will step out. They are wearing a long golden smoking jacket and yellow silk pants underneath it, soft slippers, but perhaps most obviously a sun-shaped half mask concealing most of their face. He is holding an opium pipe languidly in one hand, and he will kind of look you up and down, taking a long draw on the pipe and exhale a smoke ring and say, well, you are an interesting specimen, aren't you? What brings you down here to Limehouse?
I think there's an excellent parallel here, because as they look across the hallway at each other, they're both these bright, clean, radiant things that are both in one way shrouded, because Priyanka is again wearing our blindfold, and they cross the steps very, very quietly, so that they can lean, not necessarily like invade the personal space of the man in the mask, but like almost as if to take a closer look if it weren't for the blindfold. And cock their head to one side and say, the thing that brings me here is the steadily climbing count of victims who have fallen ill to a beast that is roaming the street. One would think that someone is there's almost a sizing up. One would think that someone of such obvious wealth and distinction would find more elusive places to retreat for their enjoyments. Are you perhaps not afraid of falling victim to beasts or gossips, sir?
Well, I rather think my dress protects me from any hints of rumor, my identity being quite difficult to discern. I could say that you might like to think of me as a distant member of the royal family, but I am relatively careful about who learns my true identity. However, as to the dangers, this place poses no real threat to me. I have traveled far and wide and deep. There is a world beyond this one, you know. It's like our own world. It is, in fact, our world. But it is impossibly ancient. A world where the sun is new and where old spirits and old gods play and make war with each other. I have seen it with all my eyes. It is magnificent and terrible and bloody and every other awful, wonderful thing you can imagine. And so, Limehouse holds few terrors for me.
Priyanka takes the pipe from his hands expertly, and then possibly surprising Jenny for sure, takes a drag from the pipe and then lets the smoke slowly roll from their mouth and says, well, for one who has seen such wonders and horrors, I assume that a little mystery here in Limehouse will be of no consequence, and therefore you might perhaps turn some of those many eyes towards a bit of a favor for one who is interested in expanding their horizons.
Ah, an exchange of favors with one who sees so much and yet so little. That is an intriguing offer. Come with me. And he will beckon you back towards the room that he came from. We will sit together and smoke and talk of what things may be.
Priyanka follows him into the private suite, and the curtain falls, kind of secluding him from the rest of the den.
Excellent. And I think I would like, again, at this point, if I could get you to make the information move. Yeah, this will probably also be with presence here.
So my presence is a +2. Oh, I've lost connection. Hold on, let me-
You don't want to know.
Oh, okay, the roll did go through. Oh, and I failed it, like, horribly.
Excellent. Well, in which case we will go back to Fujisawa first. Yeah, Fujisawa. So you are sat opposite Madame Sorokin as she takes your hands in hers. She gazes into your eyes, but as you gaze into her eyes, they take on that strange, reflective, iridescent sheen of the mirror behind her. It's both kind of hypnotic and repellent at the same time. And as she holds your gaze, you'll start to see something forming in the mirror behind her. It's got an almost like milky sheen to it at the minute, but that sort of starts to coalesce. It looks a bit like you, but gaunt and white and, well, sort of more silvery than white, that kind of fish scale type look to it, with hollow eyes and long, sharp claws. And it starts reaching out of the mirror towards you. And just an overwhelming terror fills your mind, and you will run screaming from the parlor, and you will take the condition haunted vision, I think. Although, of course, if you wish to spend a mask to upgrade that to a 7 to 9, you may do so.
I think I will mark a mask. I'll mark my first mask of the past.
Sure thing, sure thing. In which case, it's not entirely dissimilar to that. You will. It's not quite as a disturbing an experience. Madame Sorokin's eyes remain the same, although her regular gaze is in and of itself quite intense. She does have one of those that way of maintaining eye contact that makes you feel like she is reading a part of your soul. But in the strange iridescent thing of a mirror, a figure, indistinct and kind of indistinct and ethereal, but definitely present in the surface of the mirror, appears, and you can see the mouth moving on this thing as for as few kind of discernible features as there are, and you can hear that kind of susurrus of whispering, as this you can hear sort of secrets being whispered forth from the thing's mouth. How does that make you feel?
I think when that happens, we see Fujisawa kind of avert her gaze for a moment from Madame Sorokin. And she whispers to herself like a name, a Japanese woman's name, as though she believes this woman to be the entity in the mirror. And I think she feels, instead of fear, it's a sort of feeling of reunion, of nostalgia. Whether she's correct about the identity of this entity, she feels happy to see it in a way.
Awesome, yeah. In which case, I'll ask you to take the condition haunted, I think. But I think with that, she will release your hands and say, "So, Miss Fujisawa, what do you think of my talents now?"
Fujisawa is making very intense eye contact with Mensurg, and I think Fujisawa has a very intense gaze, which perhaps the other hunters don't know because it's always sort of averted politely, but she's looking very unerringly at Madame Swerkin, and she says, "Well, I think the mirror is very talented."
And I think she actually grins a little at that. And it definitely feels like a break in her character. You know, it's definitely not the sort of expression you've seen from her as she's been performing. But she says, "It seems you are a hard lady to impress, Miss Fujisawa."
Well, I should say that I do admire your effort. And I think you should give your assistant a raise. She's working very hard as well.
I am sure she will take care of that herself.
Well, thank you very much, Madame Sorokin, for this demonstration. And her gaze drifts back toward the mirror. It was eye-opening in its way. And I think she'll stand to go out. But if the assistant, Elsie, isn't otherwise occupied on her way out, Fujisawa will stop to speak with her again.
Yeah, she will say, "I hope you had an enlightening visit with Miss Fujisawa, Madam. With Madam Sorokin. Yeah, the right way around."
Fujisawa gives a polite smile. Yes, thank you. And I'm just curious, how long have you worked with Madame Sorokin?
Oh, I've worked with her as long as she's been in the country, Miss Fujisawa. And I will give you a free lowercase clue here. Lowercase c clue here. As you are talking to her, you will notice there's actually a distinct similarity between Elsie and Madame Sorokin in the eyes, in particular. She doesn't have quite the same intensity as Madame Sorokin in her eyes, but just the shape of them, the color of them is very, very similar.
Interesting. Yeah, I think Fujisawa won't comment on that right away, and she'll just keep making what kind of seems like small talk, although she'll sort of lower the volume of her voice at key moments to sort of create, we're on the same level here. We're like the same type of class, and you can level with me, sort of thing. Just asking about how it's been working with doing such interesting work with an honest to God medium, and etc.
Yeah, excellent. I think, if you'd like to make me the information move again with a presence here, I think.
Okay, a 7.
Sure thing. I think what you, as you're talking to as you're talking to her, and she's actually, quite, not, she's making polite chit chat in a sort of a relatively sort of genuine kind of way. When you notice on the little desk that she uses with the appointment book and the like on it, there is a plain envelope, and sticking out of it, and it looks like perhaps she was even in the process of like sorting this envelope out as you left the room, and just sort of pushed it to one side. But you will just make out, as I said, sticking out from this, a photograph that shows 2 men in a very compromising position. You will recognize one of the men is Edwin Belmont, and the other, though younger, you don't recognize, though the professor would recognize it as Richard Hitchman. But it's at this point when Miss Tanner says, well, thank you, Miss Fujisawa. It's been a pleasure. If ever you do want to come back and visit, please, if you can make a reservation in advance, that is it will be much more convenient. But as it is for now, we have another customer coming in shortly, so I need to get ready for them, if you don't mind. And she'll kind of, not forcefully, but kind of quite deliberately start moving you towards the door.
Yeah, Fujisawa says, certainly, thank you again. Please give my kind regards to Miss Tanner. I mean, Madam Sorokin.
And again, there's maybe just that slight twitch as at that mistake, and said, of course, Miss Fujisawa, I will do so. Yeah, she will kind of hold the door open for you.
On the way out, can Fujisawa sneakily grab that photograph?
No, unfortunately, you won't be able to. So that's essentially the complication for the 7 to 9. It is that she sort of gets you out before you're able to get your hands on it.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome.
So were there 2 clues in that scene or 1 clue?
2. So yes, there was the first clue was a spectral figure whispering secrets, and the second was the compromising photograph. Awesome. So yeah, we will swing. I'm just going to check in briefly again with the professor. Following your excursion to the library, is there anything else that you would like to do?
Well, I mean, if I'm here, imagine other things I would want to research for the other threats.
Yeah.
Maybe just look into yeah, people turning into animals or thinking they're animals, that kind of thing.
Sure, that sounds great. So yeah, if you'd like to make me another information move with reason.
Oh, what happened to the? I accidentally closed. Another 11. It's not exciting, but Eloise likes being buried in books, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that you will find yeah, I think that what makes sense here is that you'll find a treatise on yeah, kind of lycanthropy and in the semi-medical sense of the term, and other sort of delusions, which makes reference to which makes reference to sort of childhood aversions and influences in early childhood, and the specific reference in one of these case studies is a book of nursery rhymes with all the references to birds being crossed out, and how this is a kind of a sign of this sort of early manifestations of their their mania, as it refers to it. So yes, the clue itself is a book of nursery rhymes. All the references to birds have been crossed out. Excellent. And then, yeah, we'll just come back in briefly, quickly to Priyanka before we wrap up for this hour and for the day phase. So Priyanka, as you follow the man in the sun mask into his sort of private room, he will hand you the pipe, and as you draw on it again, you can kind of feel the effects of the poppy coming onto you far stronger and far quicker than you expected. You're kind of drawn down into a deep but kind of restless slumber, as you are assailed by, it's actually very, very similar to that dream you had last night, but even more intense, if that's possible. You dream of being in this strange, lush world, and the suns are high in the sky and beating down on you. You can feel the sun almost blistering your skin as you stand in it. As you come to, it's a bit disorientating. You're not sure how long it has been, but when you come to again, you are alone in the room. The man in the sun mask has disappeared, and you will be taking a condition, Sons of Another World. But of course, if you wish to spend a mask to avoid that, you may do so.
I would like to spend a mask in order to avoid that.
Excellent. So instead, the man in the sun mask will still share with you his pipe, and it still, it still induces some drowsiness and strange visions, perhaps, but it's a lot more controlled. And the man in the sun mask will say, I have seen in my dreams a great spiral of blood in the skies of London. It undulates like a great serpent. I can show it to you if you wish.
Priyanka, feeling awash in the warmth of the opium and feeling hypnotized and dazzled by the sun mask, hazily but with conviction says, I wish to see it.
And he will move behind you and say, I must ask you to remove your veil, but do not turn around. Do not keep looking forwards.
And the camera shows Priyanka only from like the shoulders down. And so you see them raise their hands above, out of frame towards the blindfold, and then they fall back down, and the blindfold is just dangling limply from one hand.
And in almost like a similar shot from the reverse, we see the man in the sun mask unfasten his mask and remove it. Again, we're seeing this only from behind, and he reaches up and over your head and places the mask down in front of you, and you get a sudden sort of vertigo-inducing vision of being up and over Limehouse, seeing the town, seeing the area spread out below you. And you can indeed see this strange spiral of blood marking out a particular location. in the in Limehouse. We'll leave it, vague as to exactly where it is, but yeah, you will see this this sign, and then after a moment, he says, "I hope you found that enlightening." And then he will sort of, again, remove the mask from you, put it back on himself, and allow you to retie your blindfold.
As I'm retying the blindfold, the camera again not showing above, not showing my eyes, but the blindfold sits back across our face, and then you just see a tear roll down Priyanka's face.
And he will say, "Well, I hope you are able to find what you want in your hunt, little one. As for the favor you owe me, I will call on you when I require it." And yeah, you can take the condition debt to the man in the sun mask.
I think Priyanka very unceremoniously gives like a very deep curtsy and steps out of the room.
Excellent. Thank you. So we'll call the day phase to an end there.
Can I ask a quick question about like answering questions, or can that happen during the day phase or the night phase? I know resolving threats only happens.
You can answer a question basically at any time. Often, like kind of at the dawn or dusk phase, a good time to do it, just because it's kind of a bit out of a bit of an out of character thing. But yeah, no, we can do that at any point.
Great, thanks.
That's cool. So yeah, we'll take a quick break. So yeah, if we say come back just after 20 past, and then we'll kick things off again and get into the night phase and see what happens next. See you all shortly. Yeah, excellent. So we are now going into the dusk phase, doing our setup for the night phase. So I will do the thing on the character cube so I remind myself. So yeah, dusk phase. If anyone has a move that triggers in the dusk phase, that's resolved first. But again, I don't believe anyone does. I think the only one that has a thing showing up. Yeah, no, that's it. Cool. The second thing we do is we'll do a paint scene question about a room in the house. And in fact, I think today, because we have discussed it already, we will describe the library. So, of all the rooms in Hargrave House, none feel more unstuck than this one. As you enter the library, what do you see or experience that feels a little off? So yeah, if anyone wants to jump in and answer that one. I mean, obviously everyone will answer, but if someone wants to jump in first, yeah, cool. Go ahead.
I think the library has so these high stacks of it's got a high ceiling and high stacks of books, shelves, and there is one of those ladders that is on the little wheels that goes along alongside of the library, and every time you look away and you look back, it seems like that ladder is in a different spot.
Excellent.
I think that the books themselves sort of resist organization and categorization. They're always in different places every time you come in, and there doesn't really seem to be any logical order to the way that they arrange themselves. However, if there is a particular tome you're looking for or a particular subject you're in desperate need of information about a book on it will always somehow be right there at eye level, the first thing you notice when you walk in.
Awesome. Awesome.
I think it's an interior room. So there's no windows, but there's always just like a breeze going through this room. And if you leave a book open on the table, it will, flip to a different page. But I think it's probably worth looking to see what's written on that page before turning back to your place.
Priyanka doesn't like the library, and that's because it's that crimson wallpaper. There's this elaborate pattern over it, and every time that we're in there, it just seems like something is, trying to say something out of it. The swirls and the patterns, they sometimes look like mouths, and those mouths sometimes look like they're grinning, sometimes look like they're grimacing, sometimes look like they're trying to form syllables. It's very unnerving, and we don't like it, so we don't spend that much time in that room.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I now want someone to come in playing the Unquiet just to play the library ghost. That's awesome. So the next bit we do is we will ask what people are going to be doing in the night phase. Well, I'll probably come back to that in 1 second. So the next thing after that we'll do will be the unseen for tonight. So we are going to do tonight the Cult of the Pig. This is in the second column, down towards the bottom, not quite at the bottom. So the first one of this is a paint the scene question, so that one will be for everyone. The second is for Daryl, the third for Brian, and the fourth for Jose. And we'll get into that. So yeah, I will in a second see what people want to do this evening, but I will check in first. Do people feel like they want to answer one or more questions now?
I was wondering whether we go ahead.
I was just going to say we have enough clues to potentially resolve the Limehouse Lurker. So
I was thinking about the question about the mirror that's only a 2. It might be nice to get it out of the way and resolve a question in preparation for trying to resolve the threat later on. Let me see.
Yeah.
What do other folks think?
Yeah, I'm down to try both.
Yeah, that's cool.
We would have to resolve, if we're going to resolve Limehouse, we'd have to do that during the night phase, right?
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
And we do it with a 0. Is that what you're suggesting, Daryl? A flat roll?
I'm just saying that we could if we wanted to, because we have enough clues.
What happens if you fail the roll on one of those?
So if you fail the roll entirely, generally speaking, that always means that your answer is incorrect. For some of the questions, that's for some of them they are a binary. So if it's incorrect, then it's obvious that the other thing is true. So in that case, the question still counts as being answered because just answered in the opposite direction to what you wanted. For the more open-ended ones, like the Limehouse Lurker one, then you basically have to investigate more and then try and answer it again. Also, something bad will happen. But what you can though do is if you do roll a miss, or if you roll anything and you want to upgrade it on the answer question, you can do so by by marking a mask, but everybody has to mark a mask to do so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And resolving the threat isn't related to clues, right?
That's correct. Yeah, you just have to have answered the question that lets you resolve the threat before you can do, but it doesn't have to. excuse me, but yeah, it doesn't specifically have to yeah, you don't need to have like used specific clues or anything like that.
So if we answered the question, if we answered the question on the Limehouse Lurker, the threat would still be active. So we could still, because I have an idea of if we're doing something in the night related to the Limehouse Lurker, I could still do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, we would have to answer that question before we can do something in the night phase to resolve.
That's
resolve.
correct. Yeah. Basically, having that opportunity means that you can now like put a stop to the threat essentially by whatever means you choose to do so.
Okay.
But yeah, do you want to start by trying to answer the Limehouse Lurker, or do we want to start with the mirror? I feel actually, yeah, maybe the mirror might be a simpler one to start with because I think the clues for that one are quite obvious.
Straightforward, yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing to note for the Limehouse Lurker, if we don't want to try resolving it just now, is I can use my new move, Beacon in the dark, to get a clue, so that we can push that forward as well. And I have a way I want to fire off that move.
Oh, so
in the
you
night
could
phase anyway.
You could potentially get that clue in the night phase, and we could try to resolve in the night phase if we wanted to do Limehouse Lurker. Then, yeah.
So yeah, if people
theory,
don't feel great about rolling a flat.
in theory, yes, but though it is because especially because we're probably going to have a fairly short night phase tonight. Whether you'll have time to also then resolve it after is nothing. But you know, there's in theory no harm, but beyond potentially more victims to not resolving it tonight. If you want to kind of get some more clues first, that's cool.
Well, let's do the mirror one. How many clues should we use, you guys? 2 or 3?
Yeah. Maybe 3?
Yes, 2 or 3. Did you say 3?
I mean,
oh, sorry, I just noticed one of the clues on the St. Petersburg mirror, the painting of the Sons of Another World. That's actually for the Limehouse Lurker. I think it got pasted into the wrong.
That was my bad.
No worries, no, not a problem. So I'll just put that in there, but that's fine. So that was just I just noticed that.
Okay, so maybe we use 2 then.
I mean, there's still already a lot of clues there. So I feel like we could use 3.
Yeah, I'm going to vote for 3. What do you think, Brian?
I'm okay either way. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't have a strong feeling about it. I mean, it's an optional question to answer anyway. So
yeah. The other thing as well, just I will also point out, is that you can use a clue in a answering a question by specifically refuting it. So like I just like to take as an example, you've got the design for the smoke and mirror projection of ghostly images. You could say, oh, you know, we know how these things work, and that is not the case for this mirror because it doesn't have the right whatever, you know. So that's just to sort of make people aware as well. You can kind of do, you don't have to like answer it straight. It can be
Yeah, I like what you're saying, Daryl, in the chat. That's what I was thinking too. Let's make it real so that we can use it later. Yeah.
I mean, you could make the case that like either we spend enough to make sure we actually get it, or we should just not answer it at all and ignore it. Because if we're gonna go, if we really want a magic mirror, we should go for it and try to get a magic mirror, or not waste anything on it.
Wait, am I hearing 4? 4? Am I hearing 4? 4 going once?
But I think we could still. I think we could still swing it in 3 because we just have to get at least the partial success. So unless the dice just completely bungle.
Famous last words, right?
indeed.
All right. Which 3 did we use? We can use designs for smoke and mirror projection of ghostly images. That is definitely not what's going on. We have a sense that
I think it's just those first three. Just use those first three.
those first three,
Yeah.
what the mirror sees across time.
Those are the
It's
ones
so
that say
straightforward, it's
same.
hard to add anything to it.
Yeah, well, I feel like it was Lady Camilla who saw across time through the mirror, right?
Right.
So, I mean, Lady Camilla, as far as we know, does not have any psychic properties to her. So I think that suggests that at least some of the power that's involved in this comes from the mirror itself.
Mm-hmm.
The body in front of the mirror was the late Lord Cadwallader, right?
That's right. Yep. Specifically, the mirror he was found in front of wasn't the St. Petersburg mirror. It was just a mirror in the house, but that might still be in some way connected to the St. Petersburg mirror, potentially.
The St. Petersburg mirror was in the house at that time, though. Maybe it's making all the other mirrors resonate to its mystical frequency.
That you actually, it probably wasn't actually, because it's only after his death that Lady Clara has been sort of interacting with Madame Sorokin. So the St. Petersburg mirror probably wasn't in the house before his death, kind of thing. But like I said, you could still make an argument that the fact that something weird with the mirror happened points towards, the St. Petersburg mirror having a thing, if you want to.
Perhaps if we use the clue a spectral figure whispering secrets, this like ghostly entity that Fujisawa saw, maybe its origin is the St. Petersburg mirror, but it's able to sort of travel outside of the mirror, like in other reflective surfaces around London. So maybe Lord Cadwallader's death in front of the mirror is a result of this entity having been brought to London through the St. Petersburg mirror, appearing to him and whispering some dark and terrible secret that shocked him so much that he died.
Yeah, that sounds good. And then, yeah, if you wanted to bring in the kind of the designs for the sort of trick mirror as well, that would bring you up to 4 clues in total for a +2. Or if you want to save that as evidence against
Sorokin.
Yeah, Sorokin, you can do that as well.
I'm fine with going with these and using a +1.
Sure thing. So yeah, if somebody would like to make a roll with +1.
Well, I'm tempted to ask Brian since he's been rolling so well, but maybe he used up all his luck on those rolls. Elle, do you want to do it?
I'll do it, sure. Oh, I lost connection. 1 second. And we have a +1, right?
Yeah. Hey.
There we go.
That is a 10. Excellent. So you are entirely correct. The mirror is indeed a genuine psychic artifact of some nature. There won't be any particular complications in terms of there won't be any particular complications beyond the resolution of the threat itself to get your hands on it. There won't be any kind of additional things that need to be done. That will be nice and straightforward. So yeah, excellent. And do you want to answer the Limehouse Lurker now, or do you think you're going to save that for and do a bit more investigating?
I think I'm done, but we can just save it, I guess, since I think we'll be doing a lot during the night phase anyway. plus there's this part of me that just wants to do my really messy night scene. So
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's you'd be at you could get to a +1 if you brought everything in, but yeah, no, spending another night investigating sounds fine. Sounds fine to me. So in that case, we'll do the usual. I'll just go around and ask what each of you wants to get up to this evening. So starting with you, Lady Camila.
Is it correct that one of the victims of the Limehouse Lurker was a prostitute named Jimmy?
Yes, that is
Did I
correct.
remember that correct? I think Lady Camila got a tip. We won't say how. That Jimmy worked in a particular Molly house in Limehouse, and I think she wants to visit that Molly house. And if anyone wants to come with her, it's an open invitation.
Yeah, no, excellent. That sounds good. That sounds good. Fujisawa, how about you?
This is maybe a bit, well, we'll see. I think Fujisawa wants to use some of Miss Valakwa's occult accoutrement while she's out, or while they're out, and try to make contact again with this entity that she saw earlier today.
Awesome. I like it. And Priyanka.
Well, Miss Valakwa is a bit addled and a bit overdone on the opium and this strange, like, horrific vision of blood in the sky that, a mysterious person claiming to be a royal has shown us. So I think that we're just going to, stumble our way through the alleys of Limehouse, trying to find the house that we saw the spiral above. But in a completely altered state. That's definitely not good for whatever that whole, darkness lingering over us is all about.
Yeah, perfect. And Professor, how about yourself?
I'm having trouble picturing exactly what it is, because, well, I'm going to just think out loud. What I want, because we're very close to resolving the Limehouse Lurker, so I would love a chance to cover up a clue before that happens.
Sure.
So it's, in what way? I mean, I was going to find that clue in the place that I can never remember the name of, the school. But then that didn't go well, and I didn't get my chance. So I don't know where else.
Yeah, I'm just going to double check and see if there's any locations specifically from the threat that you haven't been to yet. I think actually you've fairly well covered them all. Yes, I think you've covered all of the I think you've covered most of the actual sort of like canonical locations, but yeah, if there's somewhere, you could obviously always try and revisit the workhouse. You could potentially tag along with Lady Camila, investigating Soft Jimmy, I
guess I'll just do that.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. So in which case we will introduce the unseen for tonight. So as I said, this is the cult of the pig, a secretive cult dedicated to the pagan swine god Moch has gathered in a fashionable salon on this holy night to make offerings to their porcine deity. First prompt is a paint the scene. How has this otherwise sumptuously decorated salon been changed to make it a ritual space dedicated to an ancient pagan pig god? So again, this, as ever, this is for everyone. So if someone has an idea for that, wants to jump in.
So the otherwise gleaming white floors of this place are smeared with blood and refuse and a number of other unpleasant smelling things in the form of the ritual circle and these various dark sigils that are being used to evoke the god.
I think that on the ceiling of the main room of the salon, there is a mirror through which we see the reflections of the patrons, the cultists here, slipping and gliding across this messy white floor. Each of them kind of anointed in oils and wearing almost like laurel crowns, but it's all herbs. It's thyme and basil and these pleasant smelling things to balance out the rest.
And I think on the buffet table, there's an assortment of truffles, not the chocolate kind, but the fungal kind. And all the guests are enjoying truffles just raw.
And any thoughts from you, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, this is the trouble with going last is
Yeah, no worries. If no, so go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say there's a large fireplace and just a blazing fire has been lit, and the room is hot, and you can see the sweat dripping down everyone's face.
Yeah, nice. So I think we will start as Lady Camila and Professor Cockburn make their way to this Marley house. It's a kind of unassuming looking house from the outside. As you enter, I'm going to ask Lady Camila, how are you dressed this evening?
So Lady Camilla, as is her wont in the night phase, is dressed in men's clothing. in a three-piece suit, and yeah, a bowler hat, with her hair tied up inside of it, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, as you enter the sort of the front door, there is a sort of little sitting room there. It's fairly quiet in here at the minute, but there is an older lady, quite short, quite plump, kind of face a bit like an owl. She's sitting knitting on a chair with a beaker of gin next to her. As she sees the pair of you come in, she will kind of look up and say, "Evening, gentlemen. Anything in particular I can interest you in this evening?" There's probably a couple of young men sort of sat down here as well at the minute, just kind of lounging around on a couple of sofas down here, and they'll kind of look up as you come in as well.
We've been told that there's music and drink and festivities for people of our sort here, but this is our first time. What do you have on offer? And she kind of inches a little bit closer to Eloise and brushes arms, implying that they're a couple somehow, looking for something fun.
She'll say, "Well, there's we've got a few lads in the back room, and we've it's a little early for the proper festivities to get started, but there's certainly if you're looking for a drink and a dance, they'll be happy to oblige. And anything else, feel free to ask." And she'll give a big salacious wink.
And so Lady Camila, feeling mischievous, says to Eloise, "What do you think, my dear? Do any of these young boys here catch your fancy?"
No, I can't say that they do.
I think one of them will definitely kind of pout and kind of flounce away, while the other one just sticks his fingers up at you and goes back to reading the Penny Dreadful that he was flicking through.
Well, perhaps we should see what's available in the back room. My friend here has persnickety tastes. But there may be someone here that will interest him. Shall we move to the back room then? And I imagine us going through a curtain into a back room. Yeah, where I imagine there are like small tables in little nooks, and maybe there's a piano in the room, but no one's playing it at the moment. And some gaudy curtains and ornamentation, and maybe a candelabra on the piano. And there are maybe a couple of patrons kind of in the darkened corners of the room. And I think Lady Camila strolls in, takes a quick survey of the room, and settles into a table that is not hidden away, but more centrally located, and invites Eloise to join her at the table.
Yeah, and I think there's a few. There's quite a few young men around in here. There's like I said, no one's actually at the piano yet, but there's sort of, it's that sort of convivial, just kind of mostly people just sort of chatting at the minute. You'll see someone over in the corner kind of doing their makeup and adjusting a wig as they kind of get ready. Yeah.
And I think Lady Camila, after she does her survey of the room, she actually sees something that she's interested in. And it's a young man, very pretty, made up a bit, but not in full drag. And there's something about his eyes that makes Camilla think that he's in the know, and that he might know things. He doesn't quite have the vacant stare of some of these boys. And so she gets up and strides across the room and strikes up a conversation with him. And she says, "Hello, young man. I see you're unaccompanied tonight."
At the minute, yes, but I'm sure not for very long.
Are you very popular here?
I'm very popular everywhere.
Charming, such cockiness in one so young. And she reaches out a hand and just touches his chin lightly, his hairless chin. Says, "Such a lovely face."
Thank you. I've been told that before. Gentleman in here the other evening even said he'd like to paint me at some point.
Really, you would make a lovely model. I would buy that painting, assuming it was a true likeness of you. And though she moves in close to him and puts a hand on his shoulder, there's no music, right? So we can't dance. Or maybe, if you'll give me a liberty, maybe someone has begun to play the piano.
You could certainly ask for music, and music will be provided. Yeah.
Yes, maybe that's what Lady Camilla does. She looks across at the musician who's kind of just sitting down at the piano, and she makes a sign like, "Get your ass in gear."
Yeah.
Whatever Victorian for "get your ass in gear" is. She makes that gesture, and she begins a slow dance with "I don't think I've gotten your name, my dear."
It's I just blanked completely. Francis.
Francis. Francis, I have not heard of you before, although I have been regaled with tales of this establishment. It's my first time here. Someone told me that I should look for someone named Soft Jimmy. Do you know him?
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you here to make me a information move with presence, please.
All right. Let's do presence, which I think is a 1. Oops, I'm sorry. 2 dice. It's an 8.
8. Okay, excellent. We'll come back to you in a moment. Next, we will go to first we will go to the unseen. So Derald, you're up for the second prompt, which is Mock demands a sacrifice of riches. What does the cult offer him, and describe the manner of the offering?
Yeah, so that roaring fire that was described earlier. So the like these strong men who are entirely naked except for pigs' heads atop them bring a boar out of the kitchen and they set it in the fire, and then they set a mortar in front of it, and then all of the people who are attending this soiree / ritual line up in front of it, and as they each approach the blistering boar that is flaming above it, they take off their riches and they throw them into the mortar just before the pig. Pearls before swine, one might say. And all of the riches and jewels are destroyed by the heat of the flames, and it becomes a mucky, disgusting mess of wealth thrown to nothing.
Awesome, thank you very much. And Fujisawa, yeah, you said you were going to perform a ritual using the items from you potentially using some of the items from Priyanka's room. I'll get there eventually.
Yeah, I think we see Fujisawa tidying Miss Balakwa's room, putting newly laundered clothes away, probably with this sort of dreamy, distracted look in her eyes as she reconstructs in her mind what Priyanka looks like wearing these clothing. And, she's putting away jewelry, all of that. And I think it's when she's cleaning the mirror, polishing it, she pauses, looking at her own reflection, and grazes a couple of fingers across it, whispering the same name we heard her say in the parlor earlier, Kikuni. And it looks like an idea is forming as her gaze shifts over to where she knows Priyanka keeps their ritual supplies. Daryl, where might that be?
There is a beautiful, ornate wardrobe that has a false back. And you know that if you just find the part where the nail is sticking out ever so slightly and you pull it, will reveal a secret shelf where all of those things are stored.
Awesome. Yeah, we see Fujisawa remove the false back with a sort of practiced grace. It's very clear this is not the first time she's done this. And I suppose she retrieves, some candles, looking at candles, perhaps the athame, and she begins to set up a ritual on the floor of Priyanka's quarters. Again, she's not an expert in this, but she's served Priyanka long enough that she's picked some things up.
Excellent. So I just want to check in here. Are you looking to kind of use this as a way of finding out more information about about Madame Sorokin and that whole business, or is this something that you're doing more for your own ends? Is this just sort of something you want to kind of do without?
I think it's both.
Yeah, no, that's cool. No, that's cool. I was just wondering whether to go for an information move or to just have a night move and see where we go from there. But that sounds good. In which case, we'll make this we'll make this the information move, I think, using presence.
Sure. Okay. That's a miss.
Okay, we'll come back to that in a moment. So yeah, so yeah, we'll go then, as we kind of see you begin to perform this ritual, and kind of the candles flickering in a breeze that seems to come from nowhere. We will cut over to Priyanka as you wander out of Jenny Johnston's opium den into the cool evening in London.
So the way this goes is it's not so much wandering out as it is like stumbling and dashing out. And Jenny Johnston is like even shouting after Miss Balakwa, come back. And we like take a handfuls of our skirts and pull them up slightly and just start to dash through the streets. And it's this blurry kind of thing where like the camera's like pitching around and we can't see straight because it's like almost like a double vision kind of thing, and it's the haze from the opium, and there's like the orchestral score is all like very tense and like building, and while this is happening we just keep seeing that bloody spiral, and then it keeps alternating between blood and the black ooze that we saw in the flashback. And then while all of this is happening, Priyanka feels like the magic that they usually feel when they cast a ritual building up, but it's the wrong way. We're not calling it. They don't want it. They don't want it now. But it's almost as if it's being forced upon them. And this is how we experience my move, the beacon in the dark. Wait, sorry, there's another thing there. So we're running through the alleys and we're like slamming up against walls, and we're like tumbling down, and our beautiful white gowns are becoming dirtied with muck and filth. And we finally like find ourselves spilling out into a dark alley, and we can feel all of this power reaching across Limehouse and pulling us almost as if we're at the center of this like great spiraling web. And then that's when the beacon calls to the threat.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds perfect. So yeah, if you would like to make a roll with sensitivity.
Okay, that's an 8.
An 8. Okay, so we'll set this up, but then I'll give you a moment to think about your questions as we move on to the move back to see what Brian's up to. But yeah, on a hit, you are immediately confronted by a threat or a personified danger related to the threat. You may ask them 2 questions from the list below. They will not answer directly, but rather in the form of a clue. So I think as you're kind of walking through the stumbling through the streets, you like now begrimed and still kind of at the center of all this mystical force. You hear a childlike voice coming from, it sounds like somewhere up above you, maybe a rooftop, or maybe just from a high window. You're not quite sure where at first. let's see. Why does your blood smell so funny? And then we will go over to the professor. So, yeah, you are. The music has started in the back room here. Lady Camila is dancing with Francis. What would you like to do? Do you want to try and get more information out of the people here, or sneak off and try and have a look around?
I mean, yeah, I think Eloise starts off just trying to disappear into the background and go as unnoticed as possible. But yeah, if there's a moment where, yeah, if there's a chance to, if anyone looks interesting, he might approach them, but if not, he might just sneak off and try to snoop around.
Yeah, sure thing. I was just checking if you had that move, but no. But yes,
No.
you can. But no, you will be able to kind of, especially as the music starts playing, people will start dancing and stuff. You probably draw a little bit of attention, but at the same time, it's not remarked on particularly if you kind of slip out. And there are you'll be able to find some stairs, some steps leading, upwards where rooms are likely to be. I think I am going to ask you to make the night move though, as you try and kind of sneak out. What are you afraid will happen if you lose your nerve or hesitate here? Oh, and this will be with composure as well when we get to it.
I mean, I'm afraid I'll be caught where I'm not supposed to be.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's worse than that. I think that not only will you be caught, but you will be beaten and robbed and left for dead in an alley out behind the house. But yeah, if you'd like to make a roll with composure.
7.
7, sure thing. I'll come back to that in a moment. So, Lady Camila, I believe I owe you a clue
And a complication.
and a complication indeed. So, I think Francis is going to let out a sigh and say, I heard that someone got to Soft Jimmy. I mean, we're not supposed to know, but apparently he was he's being kept by Jenny over at her opium den. I don't know why. I don't know what they get up to there, really. I never liked hanging out there particularly, though Jimmy worked there quite often.
Dirty habit.
Well, it's funny you should say that, actually, because that's what Jimmy said. I mean, before he disappeared, he said he kept hearing this kid telling him that he had to stop with the stuff, and I mean, you ask me, it was probably just him, I don't know, hallucinating or whatever on that thing. But he said it was the last few times he'd been there, every time he came out, he just heard this little kid. Never saw them, just heard them. It was strange. But you've got a lot of questions, and he's going to kind of look at you a bit more closely and say, and you don't look like you belong here. What do you really want?
Now, Francis, there's no need to make a fuss. You've given me what I need, and perhaps I can give you something that you need. And she taps her pocket where there's a pouch of coins, and there's a little bit of a jingle. And there's no need that we can both walk away from this lovely exchange a little for the better.
Okay, I suppose. But I want you to take me somewhere for dinner as well, somewhere fancy, somewhere I couldn't normally get in. Then we'll call it square.
Well, that's an intriguing proposition, Francis. I would certainly take you to dinner. And maybe other things. We'll see how the night unfolds for us.
And I think with that he'll slip his arm through yours.
And the smell. Your smell is intoxicating, Francis. It's like rosemary or herbs. It does make me want to go out for dinner now with you. And we can cut away from there, I think. I got I got my complication and I got my clue. Okay.
Yeah. And we will go to our next unseen. So Brian, I think this one is you. Moch demands a sacrifice of status. What does the cult offer him, and describe the manner of the offering?
Shears are brought out, and the various members cut away hair, beards, and they're all, not shaved bald, but the bulk of their hair is cut off and thrown into the flames.
Awesome, thank you. So Fujisawa, you conduct this ritual, and the flares, the candles flare up brighter, the flames going longer, casting long shadows across the room, and then they all extinguish at once. There's almost no light in the room at all, just a little bit of moonlight coming in through the window and reflecting off of the mirror on Priyanka's dressing table. and slowly in the mirror, we see that strange silvery fish scale creature with its long, thin, almost like shards of glass claws, as it begins to pull itself out of the mirror, and it's a mixture between gliding and oozing out of the surface, almost like quicksilver, as its hollow eyes fix on you. What do you do?
I think I'd like to mark a mask to bring this up.
Sure thing, sure thing.
We haven't marked the threat mask yet, right?
No, I believe you haven't. That is the Mask of the Mirror.
Okay, let's do it.
Sure, sure. Cool. I'll note that, and we'll come back to that again. Actually, probably next time we'll look at some more masks, as we're getting a little close now. Instead, I think what happens is you perform this ritual, and a figure does materialize. It's hazy and indistinct, and it will say a few words to you. I will let you decide what it is that this creature says to you. That this creature, the spirit, says to you. It seems distant, and it's not like talking to a person, but it's definitely has. You've definitely summoned something that has some spiritual presence, and it will kind of engage with you.
I think what it says to Fujisawa in its kind of hazy, distant voice is, "You are not forgiven." And there's this kind of look of horror, of like hope receding that takes over Fujisawa's face.
Yeah, and I think then actually what will happen is that mirror on the dresser will shatter, shards of glass just falling out of it onto the floor. The broken shards of glass, or the broken shards of mirror, will be your the clue that you have received from that, but also your complication, as it is very obvious that you've been, or that someone has been messing around in here, essentially.
I can't believe Reginald broke this mirror. I think then what we see is Fujisawa, despite herself, beginning to cry. First a single tear, and then she's like full on weeping, and the neck of her kimono is becoming like sodden with tears as she picks up each shard of glass one by one.
Excellent. So we will get the last unseen, which is, I just lost my place again. Yes, it is indeed. Moch demands a sacrifice of blood. what does the cult offer him? And again, describe the manner of the offering.
I imagine a door opens to the room that we've been describing, and in enters 3 more pig-faced figures, and they all hold a tether, and it's all connected to a harness around a wolf that's being brought in, muzzled and growling, and trying to lash out, but held in place by the 4 pig cultists. And then one of the central figures in the room turns, and he has a big butcher's cleaver. And then we see him move towards the wolf, and the wolf snarls, and then I think we cut to black there.
Excellent. Yeah, and we'll pop back to the professor briefly. So, yeah, I think you are able to sneak out from the room, and you start making your way upstairs. I think the complication I'm going to give you is that as you are heading upstairs, you can hear that there are definitely people in other rooms. There are people like, oh, not, you know, there are people moving about. You don't meet anyone like in the hallway sort of thing, but you can definitely, you know, that there, you know, that you will be seen if you hang around too long, kind of thing, almost certainly. But you are able to identify a room that you would guess is Soft Jimmy's, just by the dint that there's just one of the rooms just has a small just like black ribbon with a couple of white flowers sticking out of it, just tied like around the door handle, essentially. And you're able to make your way inside. This room is fairly it's like a relatively plain room. It looks almost like a kind of, you know, well, because that's in many ways pretty much what it is, but like just a rented bedsit sort of thing. There is some touches of personality to it, some kind of little personal touches, but it's mostly fairly plain. There's sort of a bed, there's a wash basin, all the sort of stuff you'd expect. But yeah, if you would like to make me the information move with so, well, sorry, I should say I assumed you were going to kind of like case the room sort of thing. Yeah,
let's search the place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, if you'd like to make the information move with reason, probably.
It's 10.
A 10. So yeah, I think you look amongst the various belongings that Jimmy has. There's some changes of clothes. There's a few books, a few bits and pieces here and there. You do find a little like a snuff box, but with just a bit of opium resin in it. But the thing that sticks out is a book. It is a volume of like Greek folklore, Greek history. It's chronicles of I'm blanking on the exact story I'm thinking of, but I think there's the one that involves, is it Apollo and Dionysus? When Dionysus ends up in the underworld, I'm forgetting. But anyway, it's a kind of a Greek
Orpheus.
Yes, yeah, that sort of thing. But yeah, and it looks very out of place. Like that, he has a couple of like Penny Dreadful type books, and that sort of thing in here. But this is a very nicely bound, expensive rare book. It's possibly even got the markings of belonging to someone's personal library kind of thing on it, like a kind of monographed binding or something like that.
Well, I think I recognize that monograph.
I think you probably do.
Because they're a member of the Esoteric Conclave of the Darkened Moon. So we'll just have to keep that book in my pocket for now.
Excellent. And yeah, so we're running a little over, but I'll try not to keep us too much longer, but we will just wrap up our scene with Priyanka and the Lurker. So yeah, Priyanka, you are in this little, like, one of those little like courtyard. Sounds far too fancy, but it's one of those bits where the kind of alleyway widens out a little bit between a few houses, and you've heard this child's voice from above you in the alleyway.
So Priyanka's still really completely altered from the opium and from her experience. So when the child had said, like, why does your blood smell funny? They whip around and they say, don't say that. My mother always used to say that to me. Don't say that.
And it does. It's not bad funny. It smells good. It smells like, I'm not sure quite what it smells like, but it smells delicious.
Are you the one who has been drinking the people here?
Yes. What else am I supposed to do?
At this point, there's this moment of weakness, and Priyanka stands up straight and wraps her arms around them and says, you said that my blood smells delicious?
And yeah, they'll nod.
What would you do if I said you could drink my blood? Do you think that you'd stop drinking from other people?
I think I'm going to interpret that as, what do you intend to do? That sounds about, if that sounds fair.
How can I get you to?
Oh yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah.
How can I, so basically I want to lay the framework for potentially becoming the thing that the vampire can drink from, because I would like to have it as a servant at some point.
And I think at that point, as this kid, it's that there may be a young boy. It's a little difficult to tell, especially in the darkness, and they're about that age, probably from the height, like maybe 9 or 10, thereabouts, and they just look up at the kind of kind of balcony type, the sort of little overhang that they've been perching up in, and as you look up, you'll just see a thin trail of blood coming down over the edge the balcony and pooling on the floor around both your feet, and the child will kind of almost like look down at the pool and kind of scuff their foot a little to get the blood off of it and say, "It's hard to stop."
I know how it can be when something feels really good, but you know you shouldn't. And then I think that in the silence with that, Priyanka says, it must be really frightening to be out here all alone. Is there anything that frightens you that I could make better? And my motive to get this is like to learn something about the home life so that we can like vault that toward the solution.
I didn't want them to. I didn't want to take all of his blood, and his eyes dart back up at the kind of the upper floor again. This is, but he was always so mean to his mother. He was lucky to have one, and he shouldn't have done that. I didn't want to hurt him, but he shouldn't have done that.
And then Priyanka, once again, like, you know, like the idea, it's like, you've said something, it's like, he shouldn't have done that to his mother. And then you just see like Priyanka's nails start to like dig into their arms at the mention of that. And then Priyanka like falls to their knees, and that white gown is never getting clean again. It's just seeped with muck. And they just say, I know. Honor thy father and mother. That is what the book says. That's what they should do. I can find some way to make it all right. I think that Priyanka's talking to themselves more than to the creature, because they're still completely like separated. They probably don't even realize that they're talking to the threat, really. But yeah, I think that we're just getting dizzier and dizzier, and we're like, it's harder to keep balance.
Yeah. And so I'll just clarify the two clues that you got there were blood dripping from a high place, and stories of a victim behaving unkindly toward the elderly, or at least an older person, if not specifically the elderly, but yeah. So those are the two clues you received. And I think, so technically they're not willing to leave, but, or they don't leave automatically, but I think the way, given both the time and the way that you ended that scene, I think what instead happens, Priyanka, is you, as you kind of collapse down into the mud and you know, lose consciousness for a time, you will wake up a short while later, in your bed, or on your bed anyway, still dressed in the ruined gown, and the window has been left open. And that's where we will leave things for this evening. So thank you very much, everyone. That was a lot of fun as ever. We will do the dawn phase very briefly, I think, or at least part of the dawn phase. We'll probably get to, like we did last time, and pick up things like masks next time. But we'll go over the questions and the like while those are still fresh in our mind. The usual ones for everyone. Oops, when I get to the right place in the character keeper. Did the hunters answer a question? The answer to that is yes, obviously. Did the hunters resolve a threat? The answer to which is no. Not quite yet, though. We're getting close. Excuse me. So the next one. So again, I'll go in character keeper order. So, Lady Camila, did you experience an echo in the night?
Yeah, the smell of herbs. With Francis echoed from the unseen that Elle did.
Brilliant.
I did not have a face-to-face encounter with the mastermind. I was hoping he would show up somewhere, either at dinner or at the Molly house, but didn't work out.
No, didn't quite get him in there.
I mean, if we get into the end of the evening, I think it was definitely Lady Camilla's intention to not let this boy go with just a dinner.
Yeah, I think that was fair. I think that definitely answers that one. I think the writing was on the wall for that one.
It was on the wall for that one. Okay.
Brilliant, thank you. Fujisawa, did you experience an echo in the night?
Did. The mirrors, yes, I did.
Yeah, cool. Did you subtly express sexual desire for your employer in the way you dressed them or served them?
At breakfast, yes.
Yeah, I'd agree. Did you have a scene showing your secret private life in London?
I don't know whether the ritual counts because it was in the course of her doing her job.
I kind of feel like it does. I think it definitely felt like we learned a bit more about Priyanka's whole deal, about Fujisawa's whole deal, which I think feels like the thrust of the question. So yeah, I'm
Sure.
good with that.
Awesome.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Priyanka, did you experience an echo in the night?
Yes, the pristine whiteness being smeared by muck.
Yeah, brilliant. Did you have a face-to-face encounter with a dark entity? Yeah, it goes without saying that one. In. And did you perform a ritual?
Accidentally, yes.
Yeah. And Eloise, did you experience an echo in the night?
No.
I thought you did because you specifically mentioned the shaving in the unseen after Lady Camilla remarked on Francis being smoothly shaven. So even if it was unintentional, it definitely worked. Did you allow someone to talk down to or dismiss you?
I was really hoping Lady Camilla would get a chance to dismiss me, but we didn't. We're a little too rushed, I think.
I think that you I felt like that teasing was probably close enough for that for now. I think that works. And did you let down Hargrave House while serving your society?
I've covered up another clue.
Yep, I think that's fair. Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone. That was that was a good session. Yeah, again, I'll stop our recording now.